Hello, everybody who is joining us on National Healthcare Decisions Day for 2021. The Colorado End of Life Collaborative is happy to bring this topic to you. We find it to be a very important one. And today our moderator will be one of our end of life doulas here in Colorado. Sarah Stewart is going to moderate our session today. Sarah did her doula training with the University of Vermont Medical School and is passionate about people doing their advanced care planning. So she's leading our topic today, and she's going to do a short presentation, and then we will open it up for questions. So Sarah, I will let you take it away.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. So I'm here to start out with a fact. And that fact is you are going to die. I know people cringe with those 5 words, but it's true. There is no other guarantee in life after birth other than the fact that we all will die. So in that only guarantee, you might not have gone to prom, you might not have had a driver's license. There's a lot of things we might not have done in our life, but the only guarantee is that we are going to die. So on that one day that your vital mechanisms stop and you take that very last breath, it is for sure that your body will transition and you will no longer physically be known as yourself as you are today. So with that being an unescapable truth, why do so many people avoid the conversation of death? Cindy, what do you think?
Well, I think people avoid the conversation of death because it's kind of a taboo subject. Many people don't like to talk about it because they don't like to think about it. And some people think that talking about it will actually bring it on. And it's part of that taboo part of our culture that says, you know, it's better off left unspoken. And I think part of the reason that we have such a phobia about it in our culture is that we don't see death. We don't have any experience with death. Most people have never experienced the death of anyone to be with them at the time that they die. And then our funeral process is often where people are taken from where they died, often in the hospital or maybe a nursing home, that type of thing, and put into the funeral home. And then the next time you see them, if they have an open casket, they're made to look like they're resting, still living, but resting. And so it keeps us from really facing death in all of its truth. And I think
Right.
that contributes to our death phobic culture and to our making it a taboo subject to talk about.
I agree. I agree. Very well said. But JIMA, the Journal of American Medical Association research, says that nearly 70% of African Americans are without estate planning or even a simple will. And that is something that's really passionate to me. Of course, being an African American, we're only about 37% of all Americans have advanced directives. So that's also known as a living will, and it is to provide for your wishes at such time that you are unable to speak for yourself. The good news is that here in Colorado, where we are, the senior population, and that's those over 65 or what they consider seniors, are more prepared than the rest of the nation. But what about everybody else? 2020 brought the pandemic to us, and it should have got us all thinking more about what would we want if something happened and we were taken out of our element, away from our loved ones, and couldn't speak for ourselves. If we were facing chronic illness or a life-threatening disease. So that's why we're here today, to help people make that, well, first of all, to start a discussion and help people make a decision. So, Cindy, had you thought in the beginning of, let's say, 2019, that we would be in the situation that we've been in for the last 2 years?
Couldn't have even imagined what would
Right.
come in 2020. I think even in the beginning of 2020, if you think about January of 2020, we didn't even know what was coming. Um, and so, you know, even as end of life doulas working in this field, we didn't prepare to help people through that time because we didn't know that was going to happen. And now 500,000 Americans lost their lives due to COVID-19 in this pandemic. And I wonder how many people had planned ahead. Don't you think about that? For
Absolutely.
how many
Absolutely. I think
people
about it all the
had,
time because,
yeah,
you see these videos that medical staff, that the nurses and things have taken of people that are in the hospital and they're away from their families. And it's so incredibly sad that you have to think, what would they want if they were in that situation? And had they even given it any thought prior to the situation they ended up in?
right, right. And you know, life is not promised.
No.
Regardless of a pandemic, life is not promised. Tomorrow is not promised.
The next second is not promised.
The next second is not promised. Um, so I think we can learn something from this last year, the experience that we've been through, that a lot of people had no idea that they were going to face that pandemic and not survive. And a lot of families were not aware that they would lose family members. So all
Right.
the more reason that this topic is so vital.
Absolutely. So that's why we're gathered here today. And for all of you that either view this video now or in a recording, we come here on National Healthcare Decisions Day. And it's a day to encourage all Americans to ensure that your future healthcare choices are known and protected. So there's a two-part to that. You've got to have them known, and then there's got to be a way, some what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say like a backup, but it kind of is some way to make sure that not only do you make the wishes known, but someone to protect those wishes and make sure they're carried out. So the
Right.
process does not take a long time, and it's free, people. This is something that I've done for myself last year, and I helped my mom get her documents together, and we went from just the basics, which is what we're talking about today, to a full estate planning. So, talking here today about advanced directives. And advanced directives are legal documents that tell your healthcare providers what care, treatment, or even lack of that you would want. Also, you can also state what where you want to be. So, completely, if you are not able to speak for yourself, who's the person, what wishes to make, and who do you want to make those medical decisions for you? Who do you want to be your advocate? Who's going to have your back when you can't speak for yourself? Additionally, you can use your advanced directives to express who you don't want to speak for you. And I think that's almost even more important than who you have speak for you, because there's one document that's going to tell the doctors what you want, and then you've got another document that's going to have kind of your advocate. But by the same token, what if that person isn't available and someone else comes forward, and that's someone you don't want to speak for you? So you can say that as well. So National Health Care Decisions Day exists to remind all people, regardless of age or current health, of the importance of making these decisions known. So let's talk first about living wills. Cindy, can you talk about who should complete a living will and why?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is it's everybody 18 and over. Every single adult should have their plans made and a healthcare advocate chosen for them. We never know, just like you said, we are not promised the next second. We never know when there's going to be a tragic accident or a serious illness that runs a course faster than some others. And so waiting until you get a terminal illness, not the time.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely not the time.
no, but, well, I mean, if you don't have one, of course, and you get a terminal illness, definitely
Right.
that's the first thing we should look at. But um, every single adult should have this, and then they should review it on a regular basis. I like to think about it like the 1st of January, the start of a new year. Look at that plan again and see, does it still fit you? Because we
Mhm.
change as we grow and our decisions change, and that's fine, but you want to make sure that your document grows with you, and that if you need to change your healthcare advocate, that you do that. And I love your point about who you do not want to speak on your behalf. There are a lot of people who want something for themselves that perhaps their family members don't agree with.
Right.
So maybe your healthcare advocate needs to be a friend,
Right. A coworker,
a coworker, a
you
neighbor.
know. So it's funny though, not funny, but funny that it could be so random as long as that's a person you trust. The
And
next door neighbor may be that person who listens to you and respects your opinion. Not saying that the family doesn't, but they may have a different agenda for what they want for you versus what you want for yourself.
absolutely. And so long as that person knows what you want and agrees to abide by your wishes as you spell out in your living will or your advanced care directives, which is what those documents will do, as long as that person agrees to your decision, even if it's not a decision they would make for themselves, that
Right.
is the best healthcare advocate to have.
Absolutely. And in my training and researching for um different events where, I'm so passionate about this, another component that you can add to your living will is that people can add what's important to their life and could add quality to their life during a chronic or terminal illness. And I saw a video recently on YouTube. And for instance, if a person would like a pet around, or if they want to die in their own home, I think it's a third of the people asked in this research through JAMA was a third of those people who actually wanted to die at home had expressed that to someone else
Mhm.
or actually had a document that put that in writing.
Right.
So then, okay, the other two thirds, who may have been interested, didn't say anything about it. We don't know what that number is of people if only a third had said something about it.
Right.
So dying in your own home is important, or, if you have a special religious or spiritual practice, it could be something so simple as I want a certain incense being burnt, or I'd like a certain music, or I'd like my grandkids around. That was a conversation on another group recently about a family member, and should the kids be there or not,
Mm.
and all this conversation was going around the person that was terminal
Hmm.
instead of having that conversation directly with what are your wishes as the person who's dying? What do you want?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
These
is there anything that,
conversations, yeah, these conversations are important.
right. Anything you can add about living wills or any other elements that people should think about in making a living will?
Yes. So basically, your description is similar to the vigil plan that we do for people who do know they're dying, right? And they can design that space around them, where they want to die, who they'd like to be surrounded by. So I don't have a terminal illness, but I've already done my vigil plan, and it's part of my living will. So it does set those things out so that if something were to happen to me, if I were to be in an accident and be on life support, and then, my family had to decide to take me off life support, if they look at my wishes for how I would like, my last breath to be, there are some elements in there, even if I were in the hospital, they could put into place to bring those things to me or have those people present. And just as important about who you don't want to be your healthcare advocate might be who you don't want to be with you at the end of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a personal choice and a personal decision, and why it is so very important to document it and to have somebody know what your wishes are. So I love including, I don't really have another term for it except to call it a vigil plan. It's just, what do you want the final days and hours of your life to be like? And so I would love at some point to see that as a part of that advanced directive document,
Right.
that people think a little beyond just, do I want to be kept on life support, but
Right.
what do I want my dying experience to be like?
That's really great that you added that. That really makes me think because, you know, those little things that your family might anguish over, wanting to be there for you, wanting to provide you the greatest comfort mentally and physically. And then they're like, oh, would she or wouldn't she? Da 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 da, but you've spelled it out.
Right.
So these documents, advanced directives, we consider the gifts that we give to our family and friends. So basically, it makes it a no brainer of what you would want at your end of life. And it's definitely, because you see families and this person wants this thing and that person wants that thing. If it's right there, we cut out the arguing,
Mm.
we cut out the forethought about it, and then it's just a matter of execution. That's why doulas are
Absolutely.
here, because that's what we're here to help with.
Absolutely. You also cut out, I mean, it's such an emotional time for people,
Hmm.
particularly if it's a sudden event and,
Right,
you didn't have time to plan for it, but you did plan for it. So you've
right.
made these documents. So for there not to be confusion and chaos is a gift. It's a gift to you, and it's a gift to
Hmm.
your family and your
Yeah.
loved
And
ones.
of course, people could use an estate planning attorney, but
Mhm.
for these documents, a living will, it's not necessary. And additionally, I'm also a notary. So I always encourage people to have your documents witnessed and notarized, even if they don't call for it. Because again, it's just kind of another way to express that you were fully aware of what you were doing and that you had someone else come to, kind of put that stamp of approval to solidify what it is that they wanted. And so we have several good resources for people that can you drop those in on,
Um,
or should we just put them on our web page?
I think once we post the video, once we get the video on the website, I'll include them in the comments section,
Okay,
and people can then go and look at those resources.
that's great. One I found that's really, really friendly, that's easy to remember, and you can do it on the website, fill it in on the website, or you can print it off and just do it handwritten. And it's state specific. So that's one thing I want to stress to people.
Mm.
When you look at these documents, do what's in your state. So it's called prepareforyourcare.org. So going to that website, it's state specific and it's very easy to get to. Another one is called everplans.com. Some of these sites, and I don't know why, they've skipped out certain states. So it's good to have a couple of options just in case someone's state is not listed
Mm.
on that particular site. But those two are very user friendly. And we'll put a couple other ones
Mhm.
as well. So, being that it's National Decision Day and we're focusing on advanced directives, I feel like it's important to mention a healthcare proxy. And that's kind of what we've already been talking about, that advocate. On that form, the healthcare proxy, it designates a person or two persons, just in case someone else is not available, that we would like to advocate for us should we not be able to speak for ourselves. So, where the living will speaks to the medical professional, the healthcare proxy puts that person in place that is going to help make sure that your wishes are carried out by what you put in your living will. So it's kind of like your backup, that person who's got your back to speak to the doctors and nurses and what's in your living will. And the biggest takeaway from today that I would say that if a person wants, or if they actually wait until they're chronically ill, and that it's too late. And like you said, going back on an annual basis, like people go in and they check their smoke alarm batteries
Mm-hmm.
on a regular basis. They have that time of the year where they say like daylight savings time. You
Yeah.
check all the smoke alarms and the carbon monoxide detectors in your house. They've been operating, especially the carbon monoxide throughout the winter. Check the batteries. But
Mm-hmm.
people don't check on their paperwork. And especially these two, the living will and the advanced care, uh, the healthcare proxy, are both free.
Mm.
You can find them online. You don't need an attorney. Find some witnesses. You can go usually to your bank and find a notary at no charge. Um, get your paperwork together. What do you think, Cindy? What else is important?
I think it's really important for people to realize the gift piece of this because you have a right to your own decisions. That is your right to make. But if you don't document it, or at the very least have a conversation with people about what you want, and not just about your healthcare decisions about whether or not you want to be maintained on life support given a particular situation, that kind of thing. But I think adding to this piece is, and even adding to the vigil plan is also adding, what do you want done with your body if
Mhm.
you were to die? Again, it's a very emotional, chaotic time for family members to figure this out. Did anyone ever ask him if he wanted to be cremated or buried?
Right.
And then they have to guess what you would have wanted for yourself if these conversations were never had. So, just opening up these conversations in a family or with your friends, with the people closest to you that you love, and sharing in this with each other. Let me tell you what I would like, and you tell me what you would like, and maybe we
Hmm.
could be each other's healthcare proxy,
Right.
and we could be that for each other. And let's get our documents done so there's no question about what our wishes would be. What a
Yeah.
wonderful thing to do with people that you love.
Absolutely. And I think about all the poor souls during COVID, and they're in the
Mhm.
hospital. No family can be around.
Right.
They're looking at their family members on an iPad with a respirator, ventilator down their
Can't
throat.
speak. Mhm.
Would they rather have not had that and been able to take those last moments to be able to communicate with their family, say those things that they hadn't been able to say, or make sure that the person knew the I love yous, I'll miss you, and those directions? Would they have
Absolutely.
rather have not had those things and being able to talk, or had all those things and that was a part of what they would have had in their living will?
Yeah.
Those sorts of things are, they're really sad to think that in case of a quote unquote natural death, other than, some being hit by a car or something, just something where you have an illness and you die, that given the choice and the opportunity to have that taken away from you because you didn't do a couple pieces of paper,
Exactly.
when it's
Yeah.
just that simple.
And I think that brings home a good point about the COVID situation too, is that so many people died alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean alone in the sense that, for some people there was a nurse there, but
Right.
they didn't die, with their loved ones by their side. And if they did not have these discussions when they were well, by that time it was impossible for them to do so if they were
Yeah.
placed on a ventilator, or taken off the ventilator and died, or died before they could even have a ventilator. So all of those situations, because I know so many people, their illness progressed so quickly,
Mm-hmm.
from I've got a cough to I need to go to the emergency room to I've been admitted to I'm on a respirator to that person has died. So um, you know to think that we have time is the biggest lie, right?
It is. It
it,
really
it,
is.
it really is. We don't do ourselves, we have to accept our mortality.
Right.
We have to accept that. And in accepting that, we make a plan. And when that plan is set, there's a peacefulness about just living your life, knowing
Mm-hmm.
that you've done everything that you can to prepare for that time. When and if it comes, it will come, not when and if, but when it
Right.
comes, whether
When it
it's
comes. Yeah.
today or, 50 years from now.
Right. And that the
So,
conversation doesn't change that, you know,
yes,
it's on its own time. Um,
absolutely.
and just to get everyone on the same page, it is kind of like, okay, now I can exhale because everyone knows. And I've got that person who I trust who has agreed to speak and advocate for me should I not be able to do that myself. And then there's a lot of people, I have some people in my family who they say, whoa, if I'm that sick or if I'm about to die, I don't care.
Mm,
Okay, that's fine for you to not care, but care enough for your family members
great point.
that might actually want to do the very best for
Want
you.
to do the
And
very best for you and hope
yeah,
that they're choosing what you would want,
right,
but you
right,
never told them. Yeah.
right. Would they want to have it stretched out with a feeding tube to their very last, or would they have just wanted some, relief of pain and go away? There was another statistic I saw that said that um, the majority of people in their senior years that do advanced directives do them at the advice of going into extended care living or
Mm,
hospice. So to wait, you have all
that's
this time. You
late.
have
That's very late.
65 plus years, from 18 to 65 to have done this. And the only reason it got done is because the medical professionals said, hey,
Mm.
the time is near. We need to know what you want done. And here's the paperwork to solidify that, you know.
But I really think the thing about that being so late is if you think about where your loved ones are at that point when they've just learned this news,
Right.
they are already anticipatory grieving, right? That grief is already beginning to set in. And
Yes.
that is where their emotions are and their mind is. And it's not on paperwork,
Right. Yeah.
right? At that point. And so to think about having to just do documentation when what's more important is every moment you could have spent with this person who's dying that you love.
Hmm.
Um, but when it's already done, you don't have to worry about that. You just focus on loving each other. And
Yeah. Very
so,
easy gifts
yeah,
for Mother's Day and Father's Day this year, especially if you've got older moms and dads still living. Hand them a living will and an advanced the healthcare proxy and say, hey, I want to help you fill this out, you know.
and I would also like to make the point, it isn't just to say, hey, I don't want to be kept on life support. You can also say, do absolutely everything possible to save
Right.
me if that is your choice.
Absolutely.
Use the ventilator, use everything if that
Yeah.
is your choice.
That wide span of services, that a la carte kind of, so to speak,
Mm.
that people could select, on there. CPR and the do not resuscitate, would you want that, or would you say yes, bring in every piece of
Yeah,
equipment into that hospital room and do it
absolutely.
all?
Yeah, I don't ever like to assume that people do this just because they don't want to be kept on life support. I also
Right.
want to support people who want every option available to try to save their life. And,
And if you want the dog there when you pass, I mean, there's so many things specific that you could put on there to say, hey, somebody needs to figure out a way to make this work because that's what I want.
that's what I
That
want.
would be what would make me most happy, you know, uh, the dog and Stevie Wonder, playing in the background, whatever it is,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
it shouldn't be that any request, you know, within reason.
Is too frivolous or,
Right,
yeah,
exactly. So for people to
absolutely.
think, well, I can't ask for that. If that's a part of your everyday life now, why not ask for it?
Put it down on the paper, and
Right,
you're going to have a loved one who is going to try to make all of that happen for you. And even
right.
if they can't make it all happen, as much as they can, right?
Yeah, you
As
might not
many of
have a
those
whole
things as they
circus outside your window
That's right.
performing, but
You might not actually have a party with an open bar out in the hallway of the hospital,
exactly.
but
No, yeah,
you know,
and maybe that's the person, like you said, the visual thing to say, I want to have a wake before I die.
yeah,
I want to be there present. My mama says, give me my flowers before I'm dead.
right.
So maybe that's the case. Maybe in this document, you said, when I get to the last days, forget wait until I'm already dead. I want to see
Celebrate me.
everyone eating my favorite foods
Yeah,
and dancing and singing, before I'm gone.
absolutely. Celebrate me, celebrate my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Great points.
Well,
Um,
we've been on here chatting it up, making good points to everybody. Like to
we
thank
have.
everyone. They know where to find us if they have any more questions about their advanced directives. There's so many different additional documents that you can add to your advanced directives, like an umbrella for other, a whole term of things that, people can have in place. But
Well,
I think,
definitely as part of estate planning, there are other things. And
right,
people should also have a will for their estate
exactly.
to deal with their property and how they
Yes,
want that distributed
right.
out. And so that would take an elder law attorney or um, some legal documents to
Estate
set those
planning.
estate planning to
Hmm.
set those things in place.
Right.
But keep in mind that, and I'm just going to speak for Colorado because I don't know the laws in all the states, but I do know them in Colorado. You can set forth your advanced directives. You can download documents off the internet and do it yourself if you're comfortable doing that. You do not have to have them notarized in Colorado, but Sarah and I both agree you should do so, especially if you choose to have a healthcare proxy who is not your next of kin.
Hmm.
And so having that having your signatures notarized, your signature and your healthcare proxy signatures notarized is beneficial, particularly if you think there will be any disagreement by anyone else about what your wishes are. So have it notarized, have it witnessed, do everything
Yes.
you can to make that a legal document, because it is important that if you're going to take the time to do it, that your
Right.
wishes be honored.
Right. Because if there's anyone that's never had a notarization, that notary is going to look at your identification to verify this is you.
Yep,
There's your signature. Now you're going to sign. That's your signature. Okay, this is really you saying you want XYZ.
absolutely.
Sounds good.
And then I would just say, if you would like help with those documents, you can contact the Colorado End of Life Collaborative. And if you go to the membership directory for doulas, you will find Sarah's profile there, and you'll find my profile there. And both of us would be very happy to help anybody get that accomplished
Right.
sooner than later.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a
Don't
part of our
delay.
outreach to
Yeah.
just say to people, look, these things are free. And I'm going to mention real quick, everplans.com. That's everplans with an S. There's also Colorado Advanced Directives.com. And then the other one was
Prepareforyourcare.org.
Yeah, prepare. Wow, it's Friday.
Yeah.
Prepareforyourcare.org. Those are really all pretty simple ones to use. And there's additional really good information on those sites, about how to start the conversation with
Yes.
people, people who are resistant to the conversation, why we all need to open up because you will die. We
Yep.
all will, it's a matter of fact. So, no sense in having your head in the sand, preparing for things that you might not actually get to do, but you would definitely get to your passing.
Yep. We prepare for everything in our lives, don't we? But we don't prepare for death.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Spend more time picking out paint colors for your living room
True.
and between that, than for your own passing.
Yep, good point. Good point. So we will drop those links in the comment section under this video in our Colorado End of Life Collaborative community group. And so you'll find them there. And whether you watched us live today or whether you are watching this in replay, we appreciate it. And reach out to us if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate you bringing this important topic to our community. And
No, you bringing it to me that there's actually a day for this. There's a day for everything. And this is an actual day for this to remind us to get your affairs in order. And you, the person, are your number one affair.
Yep.
Your number one priority is you.
And let's set an intention next year, because we will hopefully be pandemic free a year from now. And we can do a live event and we can have people come and do their documents with us that day. Wouldn't that be terrific?
That sounds great. That sounds great.
But don't
Yeah.
wait a year, people.
Right,
Don't wait a
right.
year.
Don't wait till we have an event.
But don't wait a year.
You should be, by then you're looking at it saying, is that person still the person I want as my health proxy, or do I need to find another one? Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
That person could have passed away. Who knows?
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Great
Thank you.
conversation. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Cindy.